I know you're glad, I'm just going to assure you right now I'm not going to sing. I'm highly impressed with what I've heard tonight, singers and all, and it's been a real treat. And what a variety of things we've heard here. Lots of talent, and pleased that I'm from the Valley where there are so many talented people. I was asked tonight to talk a little bit about mentoring, since this is National Mentoring Month. And so I'll do that, and then I'll read a few poems, and then we'll go eat some more. How's that? Mentoring has a great historical origin to it. It's from ancient Greek mythology. Mentor was a special friend of Ulysses, and Mentor disguised him or herself as Athena or Minerva and went to help Telemachus in his search for his father, Ulysses. That's where we get mentor, a very old origin to it. It involves prolonged interest in the skill, the character, the activities of another. It may include teaching, that is, imparting knowledge. It may include guidance, steering another, and it may also include counseling, taking care of challenges and crises. And who gets these gifts? Well, the mentee. And that kind of grates on some ears, doesn't it? But I looked it up, and it's actually a word since 1965. We do have these new words that come in, and it's a pretty good word because it's the person who receives the mentoring. Mentoring is not just hand-holding and pass down wisdom or mindless encouragement. It actually involves intuiting what the person is that is receiving the mentoring, what the person's goals are, what the person wants to do, and how those goals can be achieved in the best way. So the mentor strives to help the mentee live and move and grow holistically, I think we would say. Mentor-mentee, it's kind of hard to say, but I'm going to say mentor-mentee relationships should not be ones where the mentor commands or insists, nor the mentee is obsequious, slave-like, and doing exactly everything that the mentor suggests. There has to be a respectable and a respected distance for this thing to work between the mentor and the mentee. And what about the period when the mentoring is over? We've probably all heard that phrase, "Oh, you killed your mentor, did you?" Meaning that you turned and went in an opposite direction. Thank heavens it doesn't mean literally, in most cases. The mentee steps out and goes his or her own way to further successes without the help of the mentor anymore. And that can be kind of a sad and painful time for both people, I think. But the best thing about that is that later on, after the success has happened, then the mentee comes back and in the best of worlds thanks the mentor, and the mentor feels rightfully that those wisdoms, that help, the way the guidance has gone will go down into other generations. So it's helpful to both in that regard if it works out that way. And sometimes the mentor and the mentee become true friends and colleagues. I have come to believe that older people have sort of a natural bent for mentoring. And I'll say me, older people, the oldest one, but we're a little bit past the greed of whatever it was we were striving for, and we're past somewhat competition, I think, which is helpful, and we're past seeing others as threats in some way. And so it becomes easy when you see these worthy younger people to want to help them, and it's pleasing to share the things that we know with novices and to move them on. As far as my own mentors were concerned, I went to a little AA high school south of Dallas, Waxahachie High School, and like some movies have portrayed recently, they were pretty interested in football. And I didn't have a really heavy poetry background there in high school. I had one or two friends, and we wrote these rhymed pieces of doggerel and lobbed them back and forth when the teacher was turning the other way. And that was about my experience. And I was also already writing poems from when I was a very young person. And so I was knowing that I was going to write poetry then, even though I didn't know any other poets to speak of. When I got to the University of Louisville, I had my first real mentor, other than a couple of good high school teachers that were in music, because I was very interested in music then. So then since they mentored me, but the writing teacher at the University of Louisville was the one who really seemed to believe in me, and at the end of the time that we were together, which was a couple of years, he did something that was important to me and has been all my life, and he offered to help me get a Woodrow Wilson scholarship. But no, I was coming back to Texas, to the Valley, with my husband. So I did, and that was another life that I didn't lead, but I haven't been sorry, because I've enjoyed living in the Valley most of the time since then. There were a couple of people in writing that were my mentors, and very briefly so, and I've outlined all these long relationships and the way that the mentee is coming along and so forth. But I think mentoring can occur almost in an instant sometimes. So sometimes just a brief thing, and I'll tell you about a couple of those. I was up in Oregon about 15 years ago, and I was at a writing workshop, and the writer Ursula Le Guin, who's done a lot of space writing and alternate worlds and so on, and we found ourselves together out in the woods, and all the rest of the workshop people were going to go down a real steep hill and slide and get all dirty and everything. I didn't want to do that. So I said, I think I'm just going to go on the logging road. That we were way out in the woods and back to the campsite. And so she said, okay, I'll go with you. And so there was a magical time of about an hour when I was with this famous writer, and we talked about writing things. And that meant a great deal to me, and her generosity. Maybe just because she didn't want to slide down the hill either. The kind of personal giving there was wonderful. And then another time, so I guess I'm recommending writing workshops, but I do think they're very enlarging, very helpful. But another time I was at a workshop in Austin called Women's, it was a women's workshop. And there was a poet there named Audre Lorde, whom some of you have studied and heard of. She was about 6 feet tall, black, was quite strong and vigorous in all of her pronouncements. And there were about 12 of us there. We'd been together for a long time. And one of the breaks, I don't remember even what she said, but I remember that she came and put her hands on my shoulders and said, "Jan, Jan." And I've carried that all these years, and I think sometimes that that touch, that really nonverbal things are also mentoring, also make a difference in one's life. Because I've always felt the touch of her hands on my shoulders as I've worked in poetry since then and in writing. Well, okay, so I fulfilled my assignment talking about mentors, and now I'm going to read some poems.